The sun slowly rises over a small village nestled between green hills. Birds chirp, and the early morning mist lingers over simple huts made of mud and straw. The villagers begin their day, some carrying baskets of fruits, others herding cattle. Among them sits a young man, Rafi, on a small wooden stool outside his tiny home. His clothes are simple, slightly worn, but his hands are steady as he paints on an old, tattered canvas. Rafi was a young artist in a small, quiet village where life was simple and dreams were often left unspoken. But Rafi was different. While others worked in fields and markets, he spent his days painting, visions of grand cities, magnificent art galleries, and people admiring his work. Every stroke of his brush was a declaration of faith. He saw a future that no one else could see. One day, an old man stopped to watch him. "What are you painting, son?" he asked. Rafi looked up and smiled. "My future." The old man nodded thoughtfully. "Then paint with faith, not just color." The words sank deep into Rafi's heart. That night, under the dim glow of a lantern, he continued painting, his hands steady, his vision clear. He worked tirelessly, day after day, night after night, despite the hunger, exhaustion, and the laughter of those who didn't believe in him. "Dreams don't put food on the table," they said. "Find real work." But Rafi refused to give up. He knew that faith without works is dead, and so he painted, trusting that his vision was placed in his heart for a reason. Then, one fateful day, a nobleman arrived in the village. Dressed in fine robes, he walked through the market, unimpressed by the usual sights, until his eyes fell on Rafi's paintings. He stopped, mesmerized. "Who painted this?" he asked. The villagers exchanged glances before pointing to Rafi. The nobleman approached him. "This is unlike anything I've seen before. Come with me. I will introduce you to the world." Rafi's heart pounded. He had dreamed of this moment, painted it long before it happened. Now he stood on the edge of a new beginning. With a deep breath, he stepped forward. The journey to the city felt surreal, but as they entered, Rafi saw something extraordinary. The towering buildings, the art galleries, the people walking the streets. It was exactly as he had painted. His vision had become reality. Inside a grand gallery, his paintings were displayed for all to see. People admired them, discussing the depth and beauty of his work. Rafi stood among them, no longer just a village boy, but a man whose faith had shaped his destiny. Years later, he returned home. The same villagers who once mocked him now stood in awe. "You really did it, Rafi," they whispered. He smiled, placing a hand on a young boy's shoulder, the same way the wise old man had once done for him. "I painted my future," he said, "and God made it real. Because faith is not just believing, it is seeing the unseen, acting upon it, and trusting that God will fulfill his promises." In a small village, Rafi dared to dream when no one else believed. With every brushstroke, he painted not just images, but faith, a vision of a future no one else could see. Despite doubt, hardship, and mockery, he pressed on, trusting that what he saw in his heart was placed there by God. Like Abraham, who stepped out in faith without knowing the destination, Hebrews 11:8, Rafi acted upon his vision. His perseverance reflected Galatians 6:9. "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." When the nobleman recognized his talent, it wasn't luck. It was God's divine timing, fulfilling Proverbs 16:9. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Rafi's story reminds us that faith requires action. Just as James 2:17 says, "Faith without works is dead." Rafi painted his destiny, and God brought it to life. So, what vision has God placed in your heart? Walk by faith, not by sight, 2 Corinthians 5:7, and trust that He will make it real. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments. What dreams has God placed in your heart? Remember, faith and action go hand in hand. Keep believing, keep working, and trust that God will fulfill His promises. See you in the next story. God bless.